Since the false cries of racism and all that stuff's not working, what do? You got to bring back COVID. It's back, baby. And Fauci, who took about 2 months off from being on TV, he got COVID while he was taking some time off, even though he's twice vaxxed and double boosted and God knows what else they're injecting him with, probably some of the same cocktail that keeps Biden awake. Fauci is suddenly back, and that he dares even show his face is just beyond imagination. And he is now going on television saying if only they had pushed for more restrictions, it wouldn't have got this bad.
We know now, 2.5 years later, that anywhere from 50 to 60% of the transmission occur from someone without symptoms, either someone who never will get symptoms or someone who is in the pre-symptomatic stage. Had we known that then, the insidious nature of spread in the community would have been much more of an alarm, and there would have been much, much more stringent restrictions in the sense of very, very heavy encouraging people to wear masks, physical distancing, or what have you.
I don't know what to call the guy beyond an authoritarian psychopath. What else could you possibly say? Now, first off, that he didn't know. They didn't know back then that asymptomatic people were spreading COVID. Now, first off, if you're asymptomatic, you're feeling pretty good. So if you have COVID and you're asymptomatic, who cares? Who cares? A test come back and it goes, oh, you got COVID. And you go, well, I feel pretty good. I'm going to go continue with my life. And many people got COVID and felt completely fine. So that's number one. Now, I suppose, yes, you could be asymptomatic and spread it to someone who could catch it. Okay, fine. Just like anything else, you might have a cough or the flu or something like that and walk into a store and get someone sick. It's part of life, right? And we have immune systems for this reason. Humans and their bodies, and blood cells and things of that nature, immunity, and then, contacting with the real world and, shit gonna happen. That's kind of how it works. The idea that he says that whether it was about asymptomatic people or not, that he, in retrospect, they should have done more stringent lockdowns, more masking and everything else. They fired doctors. They fired nurses. It doesn't matter what your job was. All of us are essential. I know I'm a crazy radical right-wing extremist. I believe all humans are essential. And they fired not only the people that they first deemed non-essential, but then they fired the people that they were deeming essential when those essential people didn't want to get their experimental injection, which of course turned out not to work as promised. And some people are saying now it doesn't even work at all and is actually making people more basically susceptible to COVID. Okay, so the idea that he could possibly look back, he should be so shamed. This man should be so shamed. And he is the highest paid person in the federal government. He makes about $420,000 a year working for the federal government. And that he basically says, no, we should have done more. We should have done more. And it's not just that we should have done more back then. He wants to bring back masks and the rest of it. Look at this.
Or in a zone or a county, a state, or a city that has a very high level of dynamic of viral circulation, the CDC would recommend strongly that you wear a mask in a congregate indoor setting. And that would include schools, places of work, anything that brings people together in a closed environment. That is good public health practice.
Okay. Now, if you are elderly or immunocompromised or all this stuff, and you guys know this, everyone knows this already, right? Everyone knows this. Then you should take whatever precautions you see fit, if that's avoiding crowds, if that's wearing a mask, whatever. The idea that the CDC would still be pushing all of this stuff, that he goes out there as a representative, technically I guess he works at the NIH, but he talks about what CDC guidance is, that he dares go out there and still 2.5 years later is telling people to socially distance and wear masks and get the vaccines and all those things. It's like, man, you should have been fired. You should have, if all of the shit that you told us for 2.5 years worked, then we wouldn't be in this situation, would we? Unless, call me crazy, you guys want a perpetual crisis.